Welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned entrepreneur, here to help you navigate the messiness of mom life and biz life. Each week, my guest and I will share our experiences, insights, and tips to help you move your business from survival mode to success mode. So grab your favorite drink and let's dive in, because this girl means business. Hey guys, welcome to episode 191 of the Girl Means Business podcast. Now, you may notice that this episode is a lot shorter than some of the other ones we've had lately. We've had a lot of really great guests. I've been wanting to share their conversations, their stories, their tips with all of you, but I also want to pop in from time to time and just share some of my own personal tips, resources, thoughts, ideas. So that's what I'm doing this week. I'm commandeering my own podcast to share just a solo episode with some things that have been on my mind lately. So one of the things that I kind of get asked a lot, and I hate saying that. That's not like the influencer, like, everybody's been asking me about my lip gloss, so I thought I'd share my lip gloss. That's not what this is. But I truly do get people who will message me or comment on my reels or my posts or my stories and say things like, how do you always seem to know like the latest things going on? And it got me thinking about what it is that I'm doing on a regular basis that maybe I don't even pay attention to or don't recognize or acknowledge, but it's ways that I'm consuming information so that I can then filter it back out to my audience. Because ultimately, that is my goal here with the podcast, with my social media, with anything I'm putting out, any content I'm creating. My ultimate goal is to take all of the information that's out there that is confusing and overwhelming and just a lot, and filter it down so that you have just the things you need. I do this with my husband. So I am not someone who watches the news like ever. I don't like watching the news. It's depressing. It gives me anxiety. But I also realize that I need to be up to date on things that are happening. And so my husband and I kind of have a deal that he is the person that consumes all the things, and then he filters to me the things that I need to be aware of, the things that I need to have knowledge on. And so instead of me going out into the world every day, taking in all of this information that makes me feel overwhelmed and anxious and depressed, I'm able to just take on the things that he deems necessary. And I do that because I trust that he is going to provide me with the information that I need. So the same thing goes into what I do for you. My hope is that you trust me to provide you with the information that's going to help you build your business and grow your client base and make more money. And that's my goal, is to help you do all of those things by being that filter for you. So my goal with this episode was to walk you through some of the things that I do on a regular basis to continue to learn and grow, because I think we should all keep a student mindset. If we start to think that we have figured it all out, or that we kind of know everything we need to know, then we're not humbling ourselves enough to go, well, there's something I don't know. There's something else I can still learn. And this is one of the things I really enjoy hearing about when I go listen to podcast episodes, which is one of the things we'll talk about today. I love when I hear someone who is incredibly successful and incredibly knowledgeable in one area, and they will talk about how that they went and learned something completely different, or they learned a whole different aspect of their business or their life or their health or their wellness or whatever it is they're interested in. Because I think deep down, we all want to be learning something. And it's demonstrated by these people who are successful in one area, and then they talk about how they've gone off and done other things. We see it with celebrities all the time. They are really great at what they do in their craft of, being an actor or actress or a comedian or a writer or a director, but that they also go off and do these other really amazing things. They've learned how to fly planes, or they've learned photography, or they have learned how to cook, and they now have a cooking show. But all of that to say, I think that innately as humans, we constantly have this desire to learn something new. So with the current sort of world we live in, There is so much information. There is so many places to go and learn things and ways to learn things. And literally at the tip of your fingers on a Google search, you can find information on anything you want to know about. So how can we filter? I'll keep using that theme throughout this episode. How can we filter the information to make sure that we are learning the things that are going to help us to grow and be better as business owners, as women, as parents, as friends, as wives, of all the things? So I want to go through and talk about a couple of places that I turn to when I am specifically looking for information about business, about parenting, about friendship, about all the things. It's probably no surprise that my top go-to resource for information are podcasts. I love podcasts. Ever since I started, learning about them, I've been listening to a wide variety of podcasts, everything from business to pop culture, documentary style, following different TV shows, all the things. I love consuming content in audio format because it is so easy to just take with you anywhere you go. You can listen to it in your car and then put your headphones in and be listening to an episode while you're doing other things around the house or working out or going for a walk. And that ability to kind of multitask and consume while doing something else is really appealing. And some people might say that that's part of the downfall of our societies. We're always trying to do multiple things at one time. But if I can be learning something while I'm working out or while I'm sitting in traffic or the car line at my kid's school or cooking dinner, why would I not want to do that? Another reason I really like podcasts is that they tend to be very up to date because most podcast episodes are on a weekly release schedule or some have multiple a week. You get information as it's happening. And so if there is something that is going on with Instagram, they're making all these updates. I know that there are certain podcasts I can go listen to that are going to talk about those updates pretty soon after they happen on their podcast because they want to keep you up to date. Whereas if you're looking through blogs or Pinterest or even sometimes YouTube videos, you're not getting the most up-to-date information because a lot of times those have been out there for quite a while. I also will tend to go and search for topics. So I know that this I do through like Spotify for the most part. Apple Podcasts is a little bit harder to search on, but I will go onto Spotify and I will search for just a topic that I'm interested in. So if I want to learn more about Pinterest, then I can go and type in Pinterest and it's going to bring up podcasts that are about Pinterest, podcast episodes about Pinterest. Or for example, the other day, I've been on like a little bit of a Brene Brown kick. I absolutely love listening to Brene Brown. And I was like, let me go see what other interviews that she's done that I haven't listened to yet, where maybe there's a little different perspective that she gives or a different person that she's being interviewed by. And I searched and I found some really cool episodes that I didn't even know she had been interviewed on. And it was a fun little kind of deep dive into Brene Brown. And so I love the searchability of it too, that there is kind of this backlog of content that you can always go back to and find whatever it is you're looking for. Another kind of random one is I was sick a couple weeks ago and I started watching random stuff on TV. I typically don't turn my TV on during the day when I'm home, but I did this day because I was having just kind of a lazy on the couch day. And I started watching an episode of Sister Wives, which I don't ever really watch. I vaguely know about Sister Wives, but I don't ever watch the show. But I got sucked into this one episode. And then I ended up like learning about or hearing about a podcast where they break down the episode. And so I went and listened to that and I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And so it's amazing at how much information there is in a podcast format. So that is always my go-to, like number one first stop when it comes to gaining information about a topic. My second favorite resource for learning is to read a book. I love reading books. It's something that I've always loved doing. And it's one of those kind of like cozy, like comfort activities that I do when I just want to take care of myself for a little while and get away and kind of escape. And I always have a stack of books. If you've ever seen me on video in my office, you'll see this bookcase behind me full of books. I have everything from business, motivation, health and wellness to like murder mysteries and cheesy romance novels. I love it all. But when it comes to my business, or learning information about my business, I have kind of a handful of books I go to, and they're sort of what I would say are like the foundational building blocks for what I teach and what I've learned about business. Some of them include things like building a story brand. I'm going to have to look behind me now and see what's on my shelf. Okay, building a story, profit first, made to stick, boss up, you're a badass. Let's see, what's another one I have? Expert Secrets. There's one called Atomic Habits. That's the other one. And then there's one called Obsessed. But those are all books that, sorry if my audio was a little weird. I had to like literally do a 180 to look at my bookshelf. But those are all books that I have read like multiple times, in the sense that I have sticky notes all over the books. And I love to like pull quotes from those and go back and sort of remind myself what was in them and kind of amp myself up again, because I'll read them and I'll get all energized and excited. And anytime I'm stuck for content, I will go back to those books and I will pull out information from those books to create content from. Now, the downside with books, kind of the opposite of podcasts, is that they are not going to always be up to date, because once a book is printed, it's printed. That's pretty much what you're going to get. And so with books, you are looking for things that are a little bit more, like I said, foundational pieces of business, things that are never really going to go out of style, or that are never going to really like fade. And so it's good to have like a handful of books that you kind of go to and you kind of go back to kind of get back to the basics of your business. The next resource I go to are webinars. These are usually really fun and helpful because they're typically free. Granted, a lot of times they're lead magnets, they're offering to sell other things, but you can get some really good information from webinars. And I love going, and especially if there's like a digital product or a tool that I really want to learn more about, they a lot of times will have like demo webinars where they'll walk you through how to actually use their product or their service. Webinars are, again, a good way to get kind of up-to-date information, sort of like podcasts, because they're either done live or they are updated as new information comes out. So webinars are a great way, especially if there is maybe someone that you follow that has really great information. The webinar is a next step into learning more about what they do. Obviously, the paid programs are going to be where you get like the good stuff, but there is a lot you can learn from free content. I think that this is I'm going to kind of time out myself and give you a little PSA here that free content and paid content, you are only going to be able to go so far in your business with free content. You do eventually have to pay to play. You have to pay to learn the good stuff. But if you are just wanting like a quick refresh or something fun to learn about, then webinars and podcasts and free content are a great way to do that. But I want to just make sure I clarify here that you can learn a lot without investing. But if you really want to grow your business and go to the next level, you have to at some point invest in deeper learning for your business. So the things we're talking about today are primarily free type things. Now there are some like paid webinars and things like that, but for the most part they're free, but you want to also kind of make sure you're mixing those in with some paid products and items. Okay, back to our regular scheduled program. So webinars are a great tool. They're usually quick, within 30, 45 minutes to an hour. A lot of times if you can't attend live, they'll send you replays, which I love because then you can kind of watch or listen on your own time. A lot of times they'll have slides and things, but a lot of times I'll play one in the background on my desktop or my laptop while I'm doing other things in my day. So they're another sort of, not really podcast, but they're a way you can just kind of like learn and take things in and be doing other things at the same time. All right, the next thing I love to do, and this one's one of the ones that's probably not necessarily a free option, but that is conferences. I am so happy that we are back to in-person conferences. Virtual conferences and summits are great as well. The problem with the virtual ones is that you sign up for them and then you're like, oh, I have other things I can do. When you go to an actual conference, there is something magical that happens when you are in this conference center with all these other people and you're in these rooms and you're having these conversations and you're learning all this information. It is incredible. It's hard. If you've never been to a conference within your niche or your business, I would highly, highly recommend that you make 2023 the year that you go to an in-person conference, because I really do think that it will change a lot of things for you in your business. In fact, I attribute a lot of my success and the pivots in my business to conferences. I've had so many kind of eye-opening and aha moments and like life-changing moments that happen at a conference or as a result of going to a conference. I have met people at conferences that have led to connections, that have led to, all kinds of like speaking events and clients and so many like opportunities that I would not have had I not gone to that conference and done things in person. So any chance you get, again, those are more paid and they typically are not always, cheap. You have to fly somewhere or pay for a hotel or pay for the conference ticket. But talking about that investment thing, sometimes those investments pay off in ways you don't even realize could possibly happen. And it goes beyond just being in a room where someone's teaching something. There's so much more to a conference than just that. And then the last thing I want to talk about really quickly is who you are following on social media or who you are consuming content from. And I saved this one for last because I want to put like a little asterisk up there and be like, be careful who you follow. If you listen to the Business Besties episodes that Katie and I do, one of the last ones we did was about not everything you see on the internet is real. And we talked about how you have to be careful with who you follow because Instagram is a smoke show. It is the ability to present yourself in any way that you want to. And some people are really good at presenting themselves in a very non-real way. And so when you click follow on somebody and you start consuming their content, make sure that you are putting it through a filter of, does this seem realistic? Does it feel natural? Does it make sense? And can they back up what they're saying? And so if they don't fit those criteria, I would say click unfollow and go find somebody else. But who you follow on social media can be really helpful in helping you to grow and helping you to learn, helping you to stay on top of trends. Kind of like I mentioned with, podcasts and webinars being a little more up to date. Social media moves at the speed of light. And so if something happens or changes, you're going to hear about it first on social media. And if you're following people who are filtering that information for you, then they're going to give you the information as soon as they have access to it. And so I like to go through and like really curate my feed so that I have people that are providing me with the information in a way that I know that they're filtering it for me, but that they're also putting it into action. So if I follow somebody and they say, oh, the latest trend is that, you need to have 12 hashtags at the beginning of every post. That's the only way to get your content seen. P.S. That is not the only, that's not, I'm just totally making that up. Don't go do that. But if they say that, but then they're not doing that on their own content, it's going to make me go, well, wait a minute. You said that was the thing to do, but you're not doing it. So you want to make sure that you are looking to follow people who are staying up to date, who are actually putting in the practice and the work and testing things and sharing like the test results with you. That are ones that are saying like, okay, I did this for a few days. I tried this out. Here's the results that I got. It worked. It didn't work. It kind of worked. It kind of didn't work, whatever the results were. But you want to make sure that you are consuming content from people who are doing the thing. Not just saying, not just talking the talk, but they are walking the walk. So those are just a few of the ways that I stay on top of what's going on in the industry. I keep that student mindset. I'm always learning. ABL, always be learning. And so I hope that you will take some of these things and go and start putting into practice, getting that student mindset, building up that natural ability to want to soak up and take in information. And there are days where I'm just like, I can't consume anything else, and that's totally fine. And then there are days where I just cannot consume enough. I just want to keep taking it in. So it is kind of a little bit of a balancing act. But I would love to know if there is something else that you are doing that helps you to stay on top of current trends or learn new things. I would love to hear about it. So head over to my Instagram at Girl Means Business and take a screenshot of this episode, share it to your stories, tag me, send me a DM, just get in touch with me. Let me know what you thought of this episode and share with me any other ways that you are ABL, always learning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And as always, you can find any links or resources mentioned in today's show down in the show notes. And if we're not friends outside the podcast yet, then what are you waiting for? Come find me on Instagram at Girl Means Business and send me a DM letting me know what you thought of today's episode or any of the past episodes you've listened to. You can also take a screenshot of today's episode and post it to your stories, tagging at Girl Means Business, and I'll give you a shout out on my page. I love connecting with you and hearing all about your business and can't wait to get to know you more. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will meet you back here next week, same time, same place.